Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. We are John and Wendy Williams with the Short-Term Rental Authority, your authority on all things short-term rental related to help make you the best operator ever. And today we're going to be talking about how to deal with slow season.
Yeah, I want to feel like the majority of us are probably dealing with slow season right now, being the time of year it is and being in the northern hemisphere, right?
Yes.
But
'Tis chilly, hence the Christmas sweater.
yes, which is hilarious, by the way. So if you're listening to this on the audio and you want to see Wendy's, Christmas sweater, go check it out on YouTube. It's over there. And you can see it in all of its glory.
It's fabulous.
So there's that. But yeah, so slow season. How do we deal with slow season?
How do we deal with slow season? Well, so I think it would be important to talk about maybe what is slow season, and if you are just getting started, how do you know when your slow season is?
Right. So in this business, it's rare that, it just never happens. You're not going to make the same amount every month. It's not like long-term rentals. It's much more like a seasonal type business. And when we say seasonal, we don't mean
winter, spring, summer, and fall.
Right. We mean January, February, March, April,
Right.
May. You have 12 seasons, actually.
It's seasonal by month.
Every month is a little different. And for us, just as an example, in the Charlotte market, June, July, August are our best months. So it's summer, people are traveling, especially the customer type we serve, families with children and pets. There's a lot more of those during the summer. And then September for us, it kind of drops off a cliff a little bit, mainly because people go back to school, right? That wasn't true during COVID, by the way, because there was no school.
That's true.
So September wasn't actually a slow season for us during that time. But during normal time, it falls off. October, not that great. November, it picks up a little bit because we have, the Thanksgiving holiday and some holiday stuff going on. In December, we have some holiday stuff going on, so it's a little better. But then again, in January, it drops off. And in fact, January is probably our worst month every year.
I would say that's true.
For similar reasons, everybody's now back from winter break and they've gone back to work and gone back to school and the holidays are over and they've spent all their money, right? So that's January. And then, gradually as spring approaches, it gets a little better. And then we have this great summer, right? So we know it's coming because we've been in the market for a while. We know it's coming. Every January is going to be the way it is. Every July is going to be the way it is. And so we've had to adapt and deal with it. And this is just the story of how we've been able to do it. And by the way, those aren't always the same months, as you were alluding to. So we have people that we've coached then, for example, Phoenix, Arizona, where it's exactly the opposite. Their slow season is summer, because it's 1,000 degrees there.
Right. As hot as Hades.
Right. And their high season is actually more winter.
Right.
Because that's where people go to escape from winter.
Right.
Right. So they have like a snowbird season and all that.
Right.
So depending on your market, your months might be reversed from us, might be different, whatever. But it's important to realize where you currently are and what you're anticipating coming up in the next 12 months.
Right. So how do you predict that if you are going into a new market? That would be a good question. Like you're just getting started.
Right. So one of the ways you can do it, frankly, is talk to other operators in your area, and they'll be able to tell you, okay, yeah, because we could tell you that here in Charlotte, July's a great month, January is not. Right. That's a very valid way of doing it. If you want to use more of like a data tool, that's something that an AirDNA is good for. So we've talked about AirDNA before and in some depth, and how it can be useful and it can be not useful depending on how you use it. But that is one of the things that I find it to be pretty accurate on, is at least the trend. So you can see, oh yes, July's a high month, January is a low month, and you can kind of see that trend graph and you can get an idea of, okay, here's my high season, here's my low season for what I'm doing in any particular area.
And that's in the seasonality tab. If you're on AirDNA.
It's actually right at the top.
Is it?
There's no tab for it. It's right at the top, and it'll have some generic statistics about your area. And one of those is a graph that shows you not only high and low revenue, but high and low occupancy for the year. And that's even if you're using the free version. So you just put your zip code in, and it'll tell you for that zip code, or city, put Charlotte in, and it'll tell you for that city or town what the trend is.
So that's free.
You can get that free, yes.
So that is free data information.
Yeah, and then you have to, if you want the actual numbers, you have to pay for it. But as we've discussed before, the actual numbers aren't usually correct anyway. So, and if you're just looking for the seasonality, you don't need to pay for it. So that's a data-driven way to go say, okay, what's high season, what's low season.
So you wouldn't go to the seasonality tab?
I don't think there is a seasonality tab.
Oh, there used to be, didn't there?
There is?
Yeah. I mean, I just went over it with one of our students.
I don't know. I never go to that tab.
Really? Oh, I go there all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's right at the top. You don't need to.
I didn't know that. I was like the seasonality tab.
Okay. Well, perhaps maybe there's a tab. And I just haven't done it.
Right.
But there you go. But that is a data-driven way to go figure that out. Just realize that the actual number it gives you take that with a grain of salt.
Right.
But you can see the trend.
Right. That's really what you're looking for is, okay, if I know that in advance, then I can prepare myself, right? So what are some of the ways that you can prepare yourself for that you know is coming? The winter is coming, right?
Right. What's that movie? Game of Thrones or show?
Yeah. It's not Game of is it Game of Thrones? It is Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. Oh, it was the best show ever. But anyway, so how do you prepare yourself? If you know that winter is coming, what do you do about it? So, well, first of all, knowledge is power, right? So even knowing that, you are ahead of the game. I think another way to prepare yourself for that would be to get your money in order. And the way that we get our money in order is by using a money management system called Profit First. Mm-hmm. And it's based on a book called Profit First by Michael Michaelowitz. And there's a website, and because nobody can spell his last name.
It's Michalowicz is his last name.
Oh, Michalowicz, yes.
But if you go to MikeMotorbike.com.
MikeMotorbike.com, that's right.
You can find his information there as well. Yeah. So it's a great book, and it's a good system.
Yeah. So the Profit First system is kind of like the envelope system. If you follow, what's his name?
Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey. But it's for your business. So you allocate a certain percentage of all your money that comes in, right? So all your money that comes in from all the different OTAs, you got Airbnb, Vrbo, and direct bookings, or wherever your money comes from, right? All goes into the centralized account, and then you divvy it out. A certain percentage goes in this account, a certain percentage goes in this account, a certain percentage goes in this account. So you have some money divvied up into all the different accounts, if you will.
So, so it's really it's a cash flow management system, and it's designed to basically work with human behavior. Because what we tend to do is when we need to spend on something, we go to our checking account, we look at it and say, is there money in there? If the answer is yes, we buy the thing, and if there's not, we don't buy the thing, right? The problem is if you only have the one account, there's money in there that should be allocated for other things. And just because it's in there doesn't mean that it's available for spending on this new thing.
Right.
So the whole idea is each account has a purpose. So there's one account that's just for the things that are involved with the unit, meaning it could be your mortgage, your rent, it's your utilities, it's your insurance, it's all those things. And we actually call that our
unit support
account.
Yep.
Because that's really what it is. And if you read the book, they're going to call it your OPEX account.
Short for operating expenses.
Yes. So it's the account where most things come out of, right? And the key to figuring out, well, okay, what percentage do I put in that account is to start to look at your business not on a month-to-month basis, but start looking at it on a yearly basis, right? So you need to look at, on a 12-month basis, on average, how much of income do I spend on keeping the units running, right? And that's going to come up to a percentage on a yearly basis. And it's probably going to be somewhere around 70%, somewhere around there. Meaning if you bring in 10 grand, you're probably spending 7 to keep the unit up and running on an average basis, right? But what that means is in July, you actually are putting more money in that account than you need to, at least for us, because that's our high season, because our income's higher, but our expenses stay about the same. But then in January, what happens is that extra money is there because on average is an average. And it means we actually solved January's cash flow problem back in July.
Right.
Right. So that's actually the key. Where I see people get stuck and they say, oh, please help, is this time of year. They say, hey, I've got no money. I've got no bookings.
Right.
What am I going to do?
What am I going to do?
And it's hard to fix that problem now because it actually needed to be fixed 4 or 5 months ago.
Yep.
Right. And so it's that cash flow management system and looking at your business on an annual basis and coming up with those percentages accurately that will help you actually survive slow season. So slow season for us isn't that big a deal because, well, we prepared for it back in July.
Right.
Right. And that's just having a system in place of bank accounts and each account having a purpose.
Right. Well, I mean, that helps you. The sooner you get started, the sooner that will be helpful.
Yes, that's true.
Right. So when should you start doing that?
Immediately.
Yesterday.
Yes.
I mean, even if you are going through a rough patch or a slow season, then, you still should go ahead and start that managing your money that way, because it will help you in the next slow season, right? So
right. And there's a lot to say about that. That's not meant to be a whole
get started ASAP.
Explaining how to do that.
No, but
there's
that's
a lot
how.
more to it, but profit first is the
Maybe
same.
we should do a whole nother podcast.
We
episode
probably
on.
should.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah. Because we could talk about that for an hour.
I think so, for sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. So that's one way that you can, navigate through the slow season. And I think that another way to help you through that is not just managing your money, but also managing your calendar as well. And you are the master at calendar management. So, and what I mean by that is a lot of times the way that we get through those January and February months is by getting longer bookings.
Right. And that seems like we'll just go get longer bookings. Right. Well, how do I do that?
Right.
Right. That becomes the question.
Because you're the master at it.
Yeah, it's partially calendar management and it's partially, again, knowing your financials. So this is one of those things when what you really need to know is, what does a night cost you?
Oh, man, this is a golden nugget.
So what we were talking about earlier is, hey, my expenses are this. Well, if you take those expenses, meaning everything that it costs to have that unit, if nobody even stays there, meaning you still got to pay rent, you still got to pay mortgage, you still got to pay utilities, you still got to pay insurance, you still got software you're paying for, probably
Netflix, YouTube,
whatever you pay on a monthly basis. So it doesn't include cleaning, because that only occurs if somebody stays, and that's a pass-through expense anyway. But it includes all those things, and then what you do is, as a very rough thing you can do, is divide that by 30, because that's how many average days there are in a month, right? So say I had a place that, my rent's $1,500 and I've got another, $300, $400 worth of expenses. Let's just call it $500 worth of expenses, so I can make the math easy. That would be $2,000. So $1,500 in rent, another $500 in expenses, $2,000 that now would take and divide by 30. And now I know, okay, this place costs me X amount of dollars per day or per night, right? And that's important to know, because when I go to price, in high season, it's easy because you're just going to get it booked anyway. In slow season, what I really need to know is how low can I go, and how much of a discount can I give? How much can I mark this place down? And that's actually the most important number to know. Because the first rule is don't lose money. So if I know what a night costs me, then I also know what it costs me if it's vacant, and I also know what I'm making if I sell it. And I'm even willing to sell it at cost to avoid losing so say it costs me $50 a night to have the place. I'd rather sell it for $50 than not sell it at all.
Right.
And that's one of those things that happens in slow season, because you were alluding to calendar management, is, okay, yeah, I'm getting some bookings, but it's only the weekends. So I'm getting Friday and Saturday booked. This is a very common thing.
Oh, man.
But I can't seem to sell Monday through Thursday. And even though you're making money on Friday and Saturday, you're losing it all by these days sitting vacant. So what you really need to do is figure out a way to, okay, how can I take this money that I'm making on the weekend and defend it by at least selling the other days at cost? And that's the mindset that you need to have coming in. And what'll get in the way of that is ego and pride, because you'll say, well, my place should rent for, well, it's not. Right?
Everybody else in the market is getting,
but they're not. Right. So you got to know how low can I go is a really important number to know.
Yeah.
So that the bookings that you do get that are profitable, you can actually defend. And then the other thing that I do is I simply prevent people from booking weekends a certain number of days out. So if you can figure out what your average lead time is.
Ooh, this is another good nugget.
Say somebody, when you get bookings, typically they come within, say, 10 days this time of year. So people are booking, this is very common. It's empty. They book kind of last minute. You don't sell it for a lot because it was last minute. Right. So what I do with the calendar then is, okay, within 10 days is our metric. So within 10 days, I start allowing people to book 1 and 2 night stays, meaning they can book a weekend. But anything beyond 10 days, they have to book at least 3 nights. And what that does is it keeps my weekends open so that last minute person that's booking that actually wants a week or 2 or a month can book it, because my calendar's open. Because I didn't sell a weekend a month ago,
right,
for, something. And now I'm scrambling to try to sell the rest of these empty days that are hard to sell.
Right.
Right. So that's how you get longer bookings, knowing how low you can go, and then having the calendar available so that they can actually book it. And we get quite a few of those. We got a couple yesterday.
Yep, we sure did.
That will take us through December, January, and February.
So you can do that by using a tool.
Yeah, so we use a tool. That's Price Labs. We talked about Price Labs before. And that's just an example of, there's a difference between having Price Labs and knowing how to use it to your advantage. So it's an expert tool that you then need to use expertly. And that's not all of it. There's some other things I do in there, but that's the basics of it. If you just did those 2 things, if you knew how low you could go and got there for the days that were harder to sell, and if you did a little calendar management so that you avoided those weekends being booked so far in advance, then now you've got a shot at it. You've got a shot at
not losing money
and actually being profitable during
right.
slow season. It's never going to be as good as high season. But remember, I'm looking at this from a 12-month perspective. And what I'm really doing is trying to, at the very least, defend the profit that we made in July. Because overall will be profitable for the year.
Right. Because this is a revenue business.
It's a revenue business.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's a really great mindset to have is, okay, well, not so much what is my occupancy rate and my average daily rate. It's
those 2 things combined.
It's all of that combined in a 12-month period.
Right. So just like when I was talking about, okay, I've got a weekend booked, I'm willing to sell the rest of the week at cost just to defend my profit on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You can expand that out in your mind to, okay, I got July booked.
Right.
I'm willing to give January away at cost
Right.
so that I'd keep the profit from July.
That's a really great analogy.
Right. So I'm just looking at it on a bigger scale.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But well, that's huge.
And
I
combine that with your profit first money management system.
Right.
And all of a sudden now it's kind of becomes more stress free.
Right. Well, you
Right.
know, another thing to think about in the low season is your listing. And it's
That's a good point.
it's really easy for most people to get booked in the high season, whatever your high season is,
Yeah, everybody's booked.
regardless
Yeah.
of are you the best listing out there. But in the low season, that's where it really becomes apparent with and important to make sure that, number one, you have really great design. And if you need help with that, please let me know, because I can help you to have really great design, and then to have really great photography. Cell phone pictures will not do it, right? So you have to have good pictures, but then you have to have something for the photographer to take a picture of, right? I mean, it can't just be like your secondhand stuff and thrown together. It needs to look professionally designed with professional photos and really speaking to that customer. We've said this over and over and over again, is who is your target customer? Speak to them. Have your title that is something that they value, right? Fully fenced in backyard, pet friendly, whatever, close to the airport.
Gig Wi-Fi.
Gig Wi-Fi.
Desk workspace. I mean, it's whatever your customer wants.
Whatever. I mean, whatever your customer, whatever speaks to your customer, have that in your title, and make sure that you showcase those things in your pictures, especially the first 5 pictures. Those are so important. So,
yeah, we talked a lot about that in the last episode.
oh my gosh.
So go back and listen to the listing review, and
yeah.
we'll tell you all those little details that you need to be.
But in the slow season, it will become even more apparent if you don't have those things.
Have you thought about why?
I think because there aren't as many people traveling to your area in the slow season, and those people are the people that are traveling are pickier.
Well, they can be pickier,
right?
The whole
Because they
point.
can be. Yes.
It's a supply and demand.
Yes, it is.
So
a
demand
supply.
goes down, but
Mhm.
supply stays the same.
Correct.
Which means that there's less people booking, and they're going to book all the best places first.
Yes.
And you need to be one of those best places.
Right.
Which means pictures, design, and pricing.
And
those 3
target
things.
customer.
And target customer.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we cannot preach on it too much.
Yeah.
Because there are so many people out there that aren't doing that. And then they come to us saying, why am I not getting booked? And I'm like, my very first question is, who are you serving? I don't know. Everybody? No.
Who designed this? I did.
I did.
Right? Who took the pictures?
I did with my cell phone.
Right? And that actually ends up becoming the problem.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. We see it all the time. So those are some really great tips and help to help you navigate the slow season. Number 1, do go to AirDNA, and that is free data to figure
and identify when slow season
when the
is.
slow season is, right? And then start your profit of first money management, cash flow management system right now. Do that right now. Think about how low you can go so that you can, sell those nights at cost if you have to, and then manage your calendar like John was talking about. Did I forget something?
Marketing.
Marketing.
Just the last part
And
we
the
talked
marketing,
about.
yeah.
The pictures, the marketing.
Yep.
This is the time that you need to be good at it.
Yep.
And you don't have to be good at it during high season.
Right.
Right. And then you realize what you're doing wrong when slow season comes wrong. Right.
So true.
So avoid that if at all possible. And if you're currently in that situation, fix it. And if you need help with that, give us a call. That's
Yeah.
what we do.
We do. We offer coaching. We do, listing reviews. We will help you with your pricing. We do design and setup and design, whatever you need to help make you the best operator ever.
There you go.
Here at the Short-Term Rental Authority.
Right. And if you need advice on Christmas sweaters, you can ask Wendy. She has really great taste in them.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's a llama.
I know it is. And it even has a tail on the back.
It has a tail on the back. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I think it's fabulous. I love ugly Christmas sweaters. And plus, they're so comfy.
They are. They are.
Well, we hope you found some value in this episode and you also like ugly Christmas sweaters. If you do, we really, really, really want to see pictures of those in our Facebook group. So go ahead and post those in the Facebook group and become a member of our Facebook group, Short-Term Rental Authority. We are doing a Cash Flow 101 board game tomorrow night. If you are local, please come and see us and come play the Cash Flow 101 board game with us.
Yeah, we do that the last Thursday or last Wednesday?
Wednesday of the month, yes.
Last Wednesday of every month.
Of every month, yes.
Because by the time you hear this episode, we'll have already done this week's.
Sorry.
But last Wednesday of every month in Charlotte, there's a meetup group for it. It's called Charlotte Cash Flow 101.
It's called Cash Flow 101 Meetup.
Cash Flow 101 Meetup.
Yes, and that's on meetup.com.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Check us out.
So come check us out, and we'll see you again next time. On to the next.
On to the next.